sand some of this wood off and get it to the place you need it to be. Now, if you talk about the pros, the guys that do this stuff all the time, they've been to a fitter, they've got their stock the way they want it, there's no movement, there's no adjustments, there's nothing. It just fits them. They just, every time they mount the gun, they put it to their cheek and they shoot, and that's where it is. They trust and know where the muzzle's pointed, where the shot's gonna go. So these are the things that we all struggle with, people like me, trying to help people like you. What the hell do we do? How do I know what I need? Well, we gotta sit down and talk about it. You know, what are your goals? What do you want? What you and I were talking earlier, what do you want out of this game? What do you want to do?
Right. I'd like to bust more.
Okay.
Of course, you know, yeah.
So it's about the numbers.
Right, yeah, it's about the
Okay.
numbers, yeah.
Well, that's good. Now, if you're gonna practice, are you gonna go out and practice whatever habits you have and expect those numbers to get better?
Seems not, no. Not in the past 3 months.
How about when you play golf?
I haven't played golf in 40 years. So
Okay, but the guys that
that's a
do
hard,
it,
that's
if
a
you-
hard comparison to make, yeah.
if
I
you-
never got better at golf either, so I guess it's just me.
If you play a lot of golf, and which I used to do, you always want to improve your game.
Always do.
Well, you get to a plateau where it just doesn't seem to get any better. I don't know why, but it just doesn't. So where do you go? You gotta get some help from somebody. The first thing they do is tell you everything you've been doing is wrong, and you gotta change. So you try that, and you get worse. Well, that's kind of what happens with the shotguns. The biggest thing that I find with people, as far as gun fit is concerned, they've just become accustomed to shooting what they have. And it either it's okay or it's not, and they just try to make the best of it and get frustrated. This is a Remington 1100 stock and forend. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Gil Ash. He's a shooting instructor, travels around the country, teaching all kinds of people, different levels, women, men, children, everything. Well, his contention is the gun makers today are trying to satisfy the needs of all the shooters. People have different requests, but if they made them all similar to the old Remington, which is real thin, it's not bulky and big, we don't have to cut any wood off, it'll be comfortable enough for most shooters to just mount the gun and hold forend, and it's comfortable in your hand. Well, if you notice what happens with the modern gun makers, this is often automatic, but they make changes. Some of them are good. All of them have some kind of eye appeal. That's what people go to, which is okay. But the basics are the same. You got a forend and a stock. The stock is supposed to fit your shoulder. And the length, that's an item that each person and I would have a discussion about. Where are you the most comfortable? And you'll hear people say, well, your nose and your thumb should be 2 fingers away from each other. When your gun is mounted, you should have 2 fingers here between your nose and where your cheek mounts up. Well, we've come to learn that that's not necessarily true. It's where you are the most comfortable, and some people, their posture is such that they cannot lean forward far enough to get their head forward, so they are back. And the angle you have here from your forearm to your shoulder should be 90 degrees. That's a good ballpark thing. So I I've talked to other people that are in the gun fitting business, and I don't claim to be an expert at that. I help people be more comfortable in their shooting game. That's really what I'm all about. So what we do is we sit down and talk about, okay, I'm gonna just talk about sporting clays for right now. I shoot sporting clays and I break about 50 targets every time I go out there, out of 100. Okay, well, which ones do you miss? Well, I kinda miss a lot of them, just here and there. Okay, well, look at your scorecard. You got 15 stations and you shoot 6, 8 at each station. Is there a pattern? And you'll find, if you look at your scorecard, you may find you break the first pair, you miss one out of the second pair. The third pair, you miss the opposite one. And the fourth pair, you might miss them both. Well, there's something disconnected here. It's not your gun, it's your mindset. What are you really thinking about this, or are you thinking about the one you missed? So we gotta get beyond that. We have to figure out what can we do for you to make it better for you. So I like to try to be consistent with whatever you're doing. If you find a target that you can break, you need to do it a lot, especially crossing targets. You need to see the forward allowance, the distance between the target and where you insert the gun to break it. So a good place to practice that's on the skeet field. The thing about it, they're always going the same speed. The left high house is going to your right, it's always the same speed, and the low house doing the opposite. So you find yourself at station 4 and you watch for the target. Skeet shooters want to break the target before it gets to the center stake. Not necessary, but it's a good plan. So here comes the target, and you can consistently do that. Now you move over to station 5. The distance between the shot and the target has to be the same, but it looks different. And you go back to 2, and the same thing is true. It looks like targets hardly need any lead, but you really do. Your depth perception is one of the issues. So that brings you into talking about glasses and bifocals and what do you wear for fishing? What kind of glasses do you wear? Polarized. They don't work well for shooting at targets in the air. They're great for looking in the water and things like that, but and the color of your lenses. So there's just so many things that play into all of this stuff, and you concern yourself with the gun fit, and really there's a lot more things going on here than just the fitting of the gun. So we go back to the beginning and say, all right, we're gonna try to fit your gun today, and we're going to have a look at you, and you mount the gun, but you can only do it 2 out of 10 times and put the gun in exactly the same spot. That's what we gotta work on. So, I don't have a gun here, but I'd like to. I'll just use this as an example. Each time I mount the gun, I want to come to my face. I shoot from what I call a low gun. When I say pull, a gun is here, target's over there, I'm gonna break it there. Got my gun halfway between the break point and where I pick it up. Pull, target comes out, I mount and shoot. I can feel it just ever so slightly on my face. I don't have to bury it, so you gotta, something like that, it kind of, there are people that do that because they think they have to get there in order to see down the barrel correctly. And if we do the fitting properly, we can get you to a point where this is exactly where I see down the barrel. You have two beads on the rib, one in the center and one at the end. The only purpose for them is for you to line things up. It's not for you to use, to focus on and break the target. That's really a problem. And it's way hard to get over that, because that's how most of us learned as a kid. You know, your dad or your grandpa gives you a shotgun, you go out there and do the best you can. It got one bead and it's on the far end of the gun. Kind of bury your head in there and look down the back end, and by golly, I got a duck today. Well, that's great. How many bullets did you shoot? Well, a couple boxes. Why is that? Well, it's inexperience, really. So we learned a lot of things over the years, and that's one of them. You look at the rib, and you can see a shooter who's got his shooting again on a crossing target. Here's the barrel. He sees it coming from that way. He's in front of it, here he is, and the gun stops. And he goes again and again. Every time he looks at the gun stops, then the target beats him. Now he's got to go back and catch it and chase it. That's something we need to really address when we get you fitted for your gun. So we have to find out, how is it going to hit where you are looking. We go to a pattern board, a metal plate, and we step back so the muzzle is 16 yards from the metal plate. And the math about that is, if you're 16 yards away, the muzzle to the pattern board, every change you make back here at the gun, every 1/16 of an inch changes about an inch out there. So if you look at a hole in that pattern board, you slowly rise the gun and shoot, and you're consistently high, we need to lower your eye. We need to lower the comb. Cut something off the top, use one of those adjustables, and move it down a 1/16 of an inch here. Should bring you down an inch or maybe an inch and a quarter. And we're not shooting a rifle, one bullet, we're shooting a pattern, and at 16 yards with a full choke in your gun, you're gonna have a pattern about this big, about the size of a clay target, really. So you bring that down. If you want a gun that's going to shoot level, half of your shot above the point of impact and half of it below, then we come to that. Some people like to have their gun shooting a bit high, so they can always have the gun below the target and your pattern is higher. Now, the pattern coming out of your gun is in a string, it's a shot string. And if you're shooting a modified choke at 30 yards, it's going to be something about that size, maybe 24 inches wide. And that's an adequate choke for any target. You can shoot a close target that way, you can shoot a far target. So when you're working on your gun and your game, don't fret too much about chokes. We get all hung up on that. And, I don't think that's a good idea for any of us to do. But getting back to the fitting part, your posture and your balance are very important. Like I advocate for us to shoot from a low gun. You want 60-70% of your weight on your front foot. So your position would be to be leaning forward just a little bit. And you need to lean into the shot somewhat, not bent over at a 60-degree angle or anything like that, but there's a comfort spot for you. It helps you with the recoil also, but this would be a good position. You mount the gun and shoot. These are all things that you learn as you go, but to get to the pattern board, to get the gun to shoot where you are looking, not where you're aiming with the beads on the gun, that's a big challenge. And the way you hold the gun in your hands, both hands, it needs to be gentle. Your fingers should never turn white because you're squeezing the forend or the stock, either one. They should be very comfortable. And a guy that I knew that was a really good coach, he would say that you totally relax right here, and as you start the shot, that's when you squeeze, you move, you mount, and you shoot. Everything comes together. It's one movement to get to the place where you pull the trigger. And we kind of have a tendency to slap the triggers rather than pull them in a slow fashion like you do when you're shooting rifles, especially pistols. I'm not sure. You got pistol shooters here. How do you squeeze? With your hand, only your finger?
Finger.
Just your finger. Do you feel the same way with the shotgun?
Yes.
Does it feel the same to you?
I got a tighter trigger on my shotgun, but it's basically the same.
Yeah. Now, yeah, that's a whole nother situation. You don't want a trigger that's so heavy that it becomes a problem for you to pull it. And that's what you'll find on a lot of the guns out of the box. Browning is not bad, Berettas sometimes are good, but a lot of the inexpensive guns, Stoger and some of these things, they're 7 pounds plus to pull. And your handguns are a couple pounds, 2.5. And shotguns, I got a trigger here from a Perazzi gun, and it's 3 pounds. That's very comfortable, and it's safe enough. You just don't want less than that. In fact, 3.5 is even better, and it's very comfortable and easy to shoot. And the second shot feels the same as the first shot. That's another issue. But as far as the physical part of fitting the gun, it probably takes a couple of hours. The issue would be to get the point of impact lined up first. That would be number one. The next thing is, do you feel any pain on your cheek or your shoulder? Well, if you have problems with the cheek, the pitch, here's a picture of a gun. The pitch is the angle back here. And that angle is determined off of the rib. The top of the rib and this angle should be, I don't know, 7-8 degrees off of 90 degrees. So what I do is, if someone's getting kicked in the face, I put a wedge in here. This is a 1/4 inch thick wedge, and we want the pitch to go this way. We want this part to come in, and we try that, and it will help or make it worse. Likely it won't make it worse, it'll subside. And is that enough, or do we need more? And that's a trial and error thing. So I generally will take a gun, take the pad off, slip one of these in, kind of trim it to fit, put some tape around it, and you shoot it for a day or two, or a week, or whatever you want to do. And Larry, you probably remember doing some of this, and we maybe took 2 or 3 times to get it quite dialed in for length and the pitch to be comfortable for you. So the next thing is, if it's still hurting you, what kind of ammunition are you using? Are you playing the game with, well, I'm gonna talk about sporting clays again. Most targets can be broken with a 1 ounce load, 12 gauge, 1 ounce load. And the speed can vary. I know guys that shoot speed at 1,000 feet per second. And there's a Winchester shell made called Featherlight, and it's 980 feet per second. And they're not gonna shoot 40 and 60 yard targets with them, but for close targets, you can make it to 60 yards?
16.
16, yeah.
Easy.
But it's important that you don't suffer and go home feeling bad because you shot 100 targets. It should just be like playing 9 holes of golf. Really not a big deal. So you go to the store, and people that are selling shells don't know anything about this, the ballistics. If the speed is 1,200 or greater, and the payload is greater than 1 ounce, it's gonna kick more. That's just the way it is. So if you want lightweight shells, you look for 7/8 or 1 ounce, and you want the speed to be lower, 1,200 or lower, and you'll find it to be very comfortable. And there are people that just say, I gotta have more power. Well, you're paying the price with your body. And people say recoil doesn't bother them, but over time it does. And as you get older, it hits more. So anyway, so we would roll along now and we'd get a gun that's reasonably close to shooting where you are looking. The next challenge is going to be you as a shooter, and I learned this lesson from John Kruger, a guy I spoke about when I first opened up here. He looks at a place where the shot is going to be in front of the target. Our mind is capable of measuring the speed of that target, not in numbers, but you have a feel for how fast it's going. And if you feel that, you can put your gun out here and break the target without seeing how far that is. And it's something you gotta feel. There's no way for me to describe it. And once you can feel that, you'll be very surprised when you miss a target instead of being surprised that you hit it. Because there's a difference. You know, when you startle yourself, when you break the target, think, oh, I don't know what I did there, but that was good. Can I do it again? Well, if you can consistently break the same target, then you know that you can feel that distance, and it's a big deal, really is. So now we've got a gun that we spent a couple hours on, and it fits us well enough. We still have this challenge of reading the target. Where's it going? How fast is it going? And you have so many different things in the sporting clays portion. Rabbit running on the ground. That's generally the slowest target you're going to shoot at that day. They look fast, and when you shoot and you see the dust, you swear you shot in front. I mean behind, because the bird flies through the dust. You're shooting in front. Just don't need as much forward allowance on the rabbits as we give it. It's just human nature. It just happens to everyone. So that's kind of exciting. Now the trap targets in the sporting world, that is the only time I recommend mounting the shotgun is that going away target, a trap quartering right or left, or straight away, I like to mount the gun, say pull, and get it as quickly as I can. Because there's two targets. Likely it's the first one. If it's a true pair, you definitely wanna shoot that one first. If it's a report pair, you get it, you bring your gun down, look for the other target, go up there and get him. Don't keep the gun mounted the whole time, it's in your way. And those are things that we learn as we go, and it helps you relax while you shoot. It's really a big deal. So, Larry, what is the biggest challenge you've had?
I'm shooting above the target or below it.
So the plane is off for you? You can't
Apparently.
tell or feel it where it is?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I shoot, I say, well, I shot above it or below it. I'm never in front of it.
You're right. Well, it works better if you are.
Yeah, I know.
It really does. How about anybody else here? What challenge do you have?
I wasn't following the bird, okay?
Okay?
So, you could have the perfect fit on a gun, but once you get out there on the station, call for the bird, there's different variables that happen. You know, how's the wind?
Yeah.
Is the height consistent all the time? So my issue initially is just to figure out how the bird is flying now. And sometimes I have to adjust my barrel down a little to compensate if the bird is high.
Okay?
Or, raise it up if it's down low. So I initially try to focus on the bird and follow it. And by doing that, I'm pretty successful. There's times where I get I flinch, okay? I start flinching. I don't know why. But
That's our mind.
you do that?
Oh, yeah.
So,
It's
I
because we're
found-
confused about our plan.
Yeah,
What is the plan? Am I ready? And when something happens, like the target jumps out there in front of you,
yeah.
well, then you got two things. First, you jerk,
Mhm.
and the other is you back off, and then you can't pull the trigger. Because
Yeah.
when's the right time?
We didn't follow, we lost the bird. And,
Right.
And I had a real problem, for, hard rights on Station 5.
You're talking trap now, yeah?
I was having a hard time, so finally I just said, you know what? I stood on 5 and I shot maybe 100 rounds and just trying to get into a rhythm, and it worked, practice makes more success.
But you don't have any guarantee that they're all gonna go right on 5.
Correct.
True.
But I think the station being on 5
Oh,
was the issue also,
so
so,
your mind is worried for you that
yeah.
it's gonna be a hard right.
Saying that way.
And do you ever miss the left, or does it become a straightaway for you?
The lefts were easy when you're
Yeah.
on 5 for me.
Yeah,
But what you said about the beads, initially when I first started, I was rifle shooting because I was,
Yep.
used to rifle shooting.
Yeah, that's
And
just
I go,
normal.
wait a minute, it's going like 60 miles an hour and you just can't pick up the bird.
yeah.
So, but what shot would you recommend, 7.5 or an 8? Or
I
either
shoot-
one at 16 is what?
I shoot 7.5 all the time. I just take that out of my things to worry about. I don't do much in the way of chokes either. For the sporting clays game, you can kind of tell when you get to a course whether it's gonna be hard or not. If it's a tournament, you're gonna have some longer targets. I go to modified.
I have, that's right.
If I'm shooting out here at Ben Avery, I shoot improved cylinder almost all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's 16 yards? Or-
No, I don't shoot trap,
Oh,
only
okay.
only sporting.
Okay, all right.
I just found that to be
Yeah,
one
that's-
thing
that's what
less
I
to
would do
worry
too.
about. The other thing is, which glasses should I wear? I had a pair sitting here. I don't know what you guys prefer. The sun is really hard for me, so I generally like this color.
Okay,
Now, if it's overcast like we had here 2 days ago, I would prefer this one.
okay.
It just lets you see the target better. But this vermilion color seems to lend itself pretty well for our sun here.
Yeah.
And I came from Colorado where we had snow a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that's really worked well on the snow. And it also, that vermilion is very brilliant when the orange targets break. You can see every little piece.
Okay.
It's really helpful.
One other question.
Yeah.
Do you shoot with both eyes, or are you right or left dominant?
No, I shoot with both eyes all the time. And most sporting clays shooters do. The reason, well, we have this thing about testing people to see which eye they are. And I'm coming to the conclusion that we make up our mind, some people make up our mind which eye we are, left or right. And you want to be right-eyed because that would be the most convenient. But the idea is to hold this thing at arm's length. It's just a tube, a piece of pipe or whatever. And you look through it, and whoever's looking down the tube out there, look like Larry maybe, you should be seeing one of my eyes. Which one?
Your eye, it's
Yeah.
your right, I see your right eye.
Yeah. Well, ladies, almost all ladies are left-eyed, and most of them are right-handed. So when I do this with them, they know they want to be right-eyed. So I don't know what they do, but they make you look. I see their right eye, and then when we go to shoot, they're all over the darn place. So I'll have them shoot a target. Incoming target is a perfect place to prove it to a person that is wanting to be right-eyed and they're not, is I have them, Ben Avery has a lot of them out there, incoming targets, just high in the sky. You know it's gonna be up there. So hold your muzzle up there. Look out there for the machine, it's gonna throw it, pretty soon it's gonna go up. As it goes up, you raise the gun, and when it gets right to the peak, you mount and you shoot. And they miss. Okay, so now let's do it again. And we go up, boom, miss again. Why is that? Well, they're looking with this eye, the left side. So I have them close the eye when they shoot. Just close, both eyes open right now. Close your eye, shoot, they break the target. So, what do we do about that? Well, my wife was a shooter, and she was left-eyed, and she was a good shooter, but crossing targets were problematic. So, what she did, or still does if she's shooting, is she watches the target, she's in front of it, sustained lead, she's out in front, close the left eye and shoot, and she breaks the targets. But you have to have both eyes for the depth, to see the distance from here to the target. That's real important. I got a lot of tools here. As we were talking about the gun fitting, this tool I use, I don't know if we can imagine this, I guess. Imagine this is a gun barrel out here in front of this. That's 2 inches of drop at the heel, which is this end. And the top of this, if you can imagine, is sitting on top of the rib. This is,
Top of the comb or the,
yeah, this is a parallel comb,
okay,
and it's parallel to the rib, and it's 2 inches low.
okay,
If you take this stock, you're gonna get 3 measurements. You're gonna get one up here, you're gonna get another one in the middle, and another one back here, because that stock is going downhill. So when we find a spot for you that I've had to shave some wood off of this to get it in the right place where your cheek hits this side of the gun, of the stock, you will always have your head in the same place, so you won't have an issue about being high or low. That's what this tool is used for, and it's primarily on high rib guns. Any of you that have trap guns, your rib looks like this, and you need to get parallel is best, because that way your head can be forward or back, as long as it's on the top of the comb, your eye's in the same position. But again, you're not looking at that, but you have to be lined up on it. And it's so hard to help people understand that they don't need to look at those beads, because it's just human nature. It's there right in front of you, and you just check it, and you'll see people that mount their gun before they're gonna shoot. They'll mount, and then they'll say pull, and they try to duplicate what they just did. Well, sometimes, because now they're getting anxious, they know they're gonna say pull, so they go real fast. Jam the gun into their face, so now they're high and they may shoot low on the target. That's what happens. So these are all things that there's no textbook answer for how do I fit his gun and his gun. Everybody's different, and we've got different requirements. We got all kinds of issues with practice for the shooter. This, I don't have a barrel here, but this kind of a mag light, whatever you call them, if you're in a dark room, a garage or anything, you put one of these in the barrel of your gun, and you can practice your mount. So what I like to do with people is have them, without looking at the gun, have it mounted low and track it down the wall. So you get a feel for that. If that's a target moving, you can do the same thing. And you just have to know where your muzzle is without looking at it. And then when you're gonna mount the gun, you should be able to mount it and keep the light on the same spot. It shouldn't be like this. And you see this a lot with guys. They're out, they say they're shooting from a low gun. So here they are, gotta get the light so it shines on something. And they say, okay, I'm just real smooth and I'm gonna say pull. And as soon as they go up with the shoulder, or the arm rather, the position of the muzzle moves. So you got this kind of stuff going on, and it needs to be, your move needs to be smooth and consistent. Pull. I'm working with a guy who lives out in Wickenburg, and he's a real nice guy, but he's been shooting shotguns for a long time, and he's older than I am. But this is his move. He's standing in the cage doing this, and I said, you're gonna wear your gun out doing that. You just can't do that. You gotta be smoother, because the targets you wanna slow them down. You wanna just relax and look at the target, and you got a plan, and you're gonna shoot it right there, so there's no need to do this stuff. Just go out there and shoot it. It sounds easy, but it isn't. It's hard to do. Your mind and your body just takes over sometimes. It's kinda like the golf course.
So I shouldn't be mounted already when I'm saying pull then? That
Well, in the sporting world, yes.
I'm a trap shooter, basically.
Trap shooters, you can, I don't wanna say it's wrong. I know some really, really good trap shooters that don't shoot from a mounted gun, but I see 95% of the trap shooters do shoot mounted. And they're good at it. And you can also aim in the trap world. You can have your gun mounted, you can look down those beads, and that can be your focal point as long as you just bring your bottom of your, you touch the bottom of the target with the bead of your gun and it breaks because your gun is set up to shoot high. Other people, I don't wanna say it's a totally mounted gun, there's a movement there. One of my friends who lives in Missouri now is a trap shooter, and when he calls for the target, it's, yep, and that's what he does. Yep. When it comes off of his lip, the target's gonna move, so he's moving and mounting and shooting all at once, one move. But there are, I see it all day long at Ben Avery, there's people, and they're good, they make good scores. And I've shot with some guys in the leagues in a few years back that were trap shooters, and they wanted to shoot sporting clays, and I tried to help them. Could not bring themselves to not look at the beads. Couldn't, they tried, but it just wouldn't let them. Their body or their mind wouldn't let them. Yes.
If you're, say you're shooting sporting clays, and the station you're at, the next one is going to be left to right. Do you want to point the rib in front of the clay, or at the front edge of the clay, or right in the middle of the clay when you shoot?
Well, you're talking about a crossing target. You want to point your gun that far in front of that clay.
Lead it.
Yeah, when you pull the trigger, your gun has to be that far in front.
Wow.
Now, when I say that, I gotta back up. If there was a lady, she was a lady here for a little bit, and she's gone, but that person, if I told her, you have to be 3 feet in front of the target, where do you think 3 feet would be measured? If you had a yardstick, where would you put it? Out at the target or at your gun?
In front of the target.
Out there.
Yes.
That's not the way the woman's mind works. They think that 3 feet is here. So if you tell a lady, you need to put your gun in front of the target, a stick of gum. That worked for her. Or a loaf of bread. You gotta give them something, but they process this information right here where the gun is, they can't visualize that target's 30 yards away and the shot string is out here. They don't feel that or see that. And there's competitive ladies, but I've worked with a lot of ladies that we get going about this gun fit and the fun we're having and everything. I said, do you really want to get into this? She said, no, my husband wants me to get into this. But I'm just going along for the ride. So I don't care if I break them or not. I said, well, it's more fun to break them.
Yeah.
For most of us, it's more fun. She said, I don't care. really. But there are ladies that are very passionate about it.
So if you're shooting trap, how high should you have your gun? Above the box? Or do you keep it down and, I mean, you seem like you're wasting time moving up. I see the best shooters shooting it as soon as it comes out.
They do.
And I'm wondering, where should you start out? What's your position?
My attitude about that is right on the top of the trap house, front edge of it, not the back edge, but the front edge of it. And I want to say pull and shoot as quickly as I can, but smooth, don't jerk. And have your gun, most guys want their gun to shoot high, like a full pattern high. So that's where I was going with the, looking down the rib, the front sight touch the bottom of the target, pull the trigger. That's how you can aim a shotgun and break targets on the trap field. But again, this is my opinion. Everybody's got one. And the
Things,
good,
but that, doesn't things change depending upon what station you're at?
on the trap field,
In the back, on the box, yeah.
well, a lot of the instructors do that. I just assume they're all coming out of the middle.
Okay.
So I'm out there and I'm accustomed to moving to the target from shooting sporting clays. So I mean, if I were a real diehard trap shooter, I think I would have a position or a spot for each 1 through 5 post, because you know what your move's gonna be. For me, I'm expecting a target and it's gonna be somewhere in this vicinity and I'm gonna go to it. And playing the sporting clays game, you get a lot of targets that are that way as your second shot. Your gun's up here and you shoot and the next target's coming from your left shoulder and you gotta go to it. You just go to the target. I shouldn't say just, but that's how I have to do it. And you don't really have any way to get set up on a sporting clays field. I mean, I use things in the distance, and we don't have many here in Arizona. There's not many trees or anything for you to say, okay, I'm gonna hold my gun on that cactus. And the target's coming from here, and I'm gonna break it right there. I hold the gun on that cactus, see it come out, I don't let it pass my gun, and I get out and shoot it. There's another method called pass-through, where I'm gonna purposely let the target pass me. It passes my gun, now I'm gonna go out there, catch up to it, and pass through it and shoot, all one movement. And you have to be disciplined to do that, and people that are good at it are really good at it, because they pull the trigger as the gun passes the target. As soon as it passes it, there's no hesitation, it's just bang. But the gun keeps moving. Sustained lead is the one that I've got the gun out here, target's coming, I see it, I start moving. I see the difference between the gun and the target. And as long as that is consistent, I can pull the trigger. I'm going the right speed. If I slow down and the target catches up with me, I gotta move.
And is that your 3 feet, theory?
Yeah. Yep.
How about when targets are coming toward you? You kind of use your 3 feet theory on that. So,
Okay. Low incomer,
well, lower or higher?
the one that's, here's the gun, target's out here. It's rising, I got my gun up here, I'm gonna see it here. I see a distance. let's say it's moving a little bit to the right for me, the shooter. I see this distance right here. From here to the muzzle of this gun out at the target is 3 feet for me. That's what I see. Because I know it's coming. It reached the peak. I know it's gonna fall, but it's still coming toward me. Some people on incoming targets, if they're flying straight at you, they'll put their gun low, come up to it to shoot. Others will come out here and come into it to shoot, the incoming target. It's coming at you like this. They'll have the gun out here and come in and shoot it. Whatever, it's a practice thing. You gotta figure out what works for you, but again, what I'm telling you is my opinion, and there's a lot of shooters better than I am at this game that have different techniques, but these are things that I know work for me, and I'm satisfied that at my age I can still shoot with some of these younger guys, and that's kind of fun.
In trap, as you're moving further back, what's the best or needed adjustments you need to make?
Well, you gotta compensate for the distance, and you know the target's going up. So I would cover the target. Just cover it, don't drive through it, but if you can, you see the target, you touch it, you get above it, and you pass, you're passing through it, but you're covering it up. But it's not a fast move. You shoot a lot of trap, right?
Yes, there's a question. What works for me, doing yardage, 27, I wait for the bird to get to the zenith, okay? And then I just take the shot.
Do you feel like it's going slower at that point?
Yes, and it's coming up and it's leveling off.
Okay.
And boom, there, I can pick it off then. And I don't rifle shoot it, because I know that's where the bird's gonna be.
Okay.
Just boom, keep like you said, keep the barrel level, and you watch it, comes up, pull the trigger, it's kind of automatic.
Yeah.
Okay, we're about out of time. Any other questions for Chuck? It's a great opportunity to.
So you do smithy as well, right?
I do. I'm available to help anybody, anytime. I have a wife that's very ill, and I'm not readily available all the time. But I can take your gun, see what's going on, and if you give me a week or so, I can fix it. I don't take on much work.
Can you say anything about length of pull, fitting that, when you're doing that? I came in a little late,
Yeah. This is, Larry, help me here.
Sure.
I'm mounted, this is my gun, I want this angle to be 90 degrees. And the old school of thought was, when you're mounted, you wanted 2 fingers between your nose and your thumb. I don't know where we are now, is that about 2 fingers?
Yeah.
That was kind of a rule of thumb, but that tightens up my angle here. You want this to be 90, is that about 90 degrees now?
More.
More?
More. Going out.
Go out,
Like that, yeah.
right there. So I would need this is where my hand would be, and my stock would be longer. So what you do then is, this gun would be short for me. So I would add a device or a pad, not outside of that. I may have to put a shim in there, a spacer. So you take a spacer, put this on it. Now you've got yourself another inch of space to get the length out for you. if you're going to err on length of pull, if you're gonna be off by 1/4 of an inch, I'd rather see 1/4 inch long than 1/4 inch
When,
short.
when I was taught it was put your finger in the trigger, put the butt to your, the crotch of your, right here.
This deal like this.
That was it,
Yeah.
that was the rule of thumb then.
Well, the thing that's changed over time is this angle's changed on a lot
Yeah,
of guns.
okay.
Some of them are strung out a long ways, others are real tight.
Okay, any other questions from anyone? If not, let's thank Chuck for.
We kinda jumped around here. I didn't stick to topic.
Oh, that's great.
Sorry.
Good job.
Thank you.
Nice job.
I'll take all my toys.
Thanks, Larry.
Sure. I don't think we're gonna have a meeting in June, but I'll send something out on the note regarding that. Otherwise, in August, we're gonna have someone from the Secret Service office in Phoenix come on.
And
So
it's on a
that-
Tuesday instead.
I believe it's on a Tuesday instead, so I'll get back to everybody
So
about
one
that.
from the 11th to the 10th.
Yes.
Most of the traffic.